All right, Callie, are you ready?
Okay.
Cleve, are you ready?
I am.
Patty, are you
Ready.
ready? Jim?
Yeah.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay, Dave, are you ready? Jim, you ready? Okay.
I heard the
All right, we'll go ahead and call a meeting for the Parowan City Council to order for May 27th, 2021. At this time, we're going to turn the time over to David Burton for the pledge and the prayer.
Our Father in heaven, as we come before Thee, the beginning and the commencement of this City Council meeting, we give Thee thanks for the opportunity and the privilege to be here. We're grateful for our freedoms, our blessings that afford us the opportunity to exchange as citizens to do what is right and best for the city of Parowan. We thank Thee for all our blessings. We ask for Thy Spirit to attend us this night, that we will be able to be guided and directed by Thee, to be inspired in the decisions that are made, that will be in accordance with Thy will and will be for the betterment of the citizens of Parowan. We acknowledge Thy hand in all things, Heavenly Father, and pray, Heavenly Father, as Thou knows our needs, that we are in need of moisture. We pray that we will be able to be blessed, that Thou will temper the elements, that Thou will bless us with the precipitation that we need to sustain ourselves and sustain our needs in this valley. We are grateful for the blessings that has been given to us and ask for Thy continual blessings. Again, we thank Thee for all those that serve, for all those that help and contribute to this community, and for their efforts and for their willingness to serve, and we pray for Thy blessings to be upon them. We ask for Thy Spirit and guidance this night again, and thank Thee for all things, and do this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. Will you stand and follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. All right. Do we have any conflicts or personal interests with any of the agenda items tonight from any council members?
Mayor, I need to declare a conflict. Lily Shirtliff is my daughter, but it will not affect my vote.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone else? Okay. All right, this time we'll open the public meeting, or the meeting up to public comments, if anybody has anything to say. All right, we'll go ahead and we'll turn the time over to Jim Shirtliff for a comment.
I just wanted to take this opportunity to make a public thank you. This is coming both as a member of the City Council and also a veteran. I want to thank Carla Green for single-handedly weeding and cleaning up the Rose Garden. I also would like to thank Dennis and Christine Lauder for planting the flowers at the monument. The Parowan veterans bought the flowers, and they've done a tremendous amount of work getting the soil ready and planting, and of course, Kristen Robinson, what's the little bunny that never stops?
The Energizer Bunny?
Energizer.
Yeah, that's a good description.
She weeded the Veterans Monument and cleaned it up, and I don't know if you noticed, but we put a bunch of small flags around it, and of course she was there doing that. So, also, the person who stole my ramp that I left there at the monument, I want to thank him for not stealing my tiller, because it was there as well. But I did find it, and I stole it back, so if there's any complaints, Chief...
Well, you didn't file one either, so...
No, that's right. But I was looking.
Plywood, that's why they stole it.
But I just think it's really important that we recognize these people that don't wait to be asked, don't, you know, that they step up, they see something that needs to be done, and it gets done.
Yeah, I would agree.
And, take a minute and go by there, it looks really nice. And that view from the street with that monument and then the Little Rock Church as a background, it's pretty special.
All right.
But, I really think that we need to tell these people how much we appreciate it. Thanks, Mayor.
I would agree. Jim, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we'll move into the consent meeting. Do I have a motion to approve, agenda items 1 through 4?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as printed, items 1, 2, 3, and 4.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor? Oh, sorry, do we have any discussion first? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll move into the action meeting agenda item number 5, and we'll turn it over to Carol Rowley.
Well, y'all should be aware of the deer problem we have here in town. It's getting pretty bad. About a week ago, there was about 20 deer out front, and I call it a herd of deer because when you see 20 deer in one group, that's a herd. You can't scare them away. You can go up to them and they just stand there and look at you like, what?
You're in the headlights.
And you have to scream and yell and scare them away.
Carol, are they there all year round?
The deer are all year round. They're born and raised here.
Okay.
They are. Natives. They used to be down the old holler. They used to be behind Beulah Jones' place. Now that there's people moving in and living in the homes now, they're scaring them out, and they go from neighborhood to neighborhood, anywhere from, that's the only time I've seen the 20 deer.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always 1 or 2, 5 or 6, 9, you name it. They're going from neighborhood to neighborhood. We're planting our gardens now. Mm-hmm. We don't want them running in and destroying our gardens and eating them. They're eating their flowers. Like I said, a lot of them were born and raised here. If we don't do something now, next year, they'll be double. I haven't seen that 20 deer herd since then, so I don't know where it's hiding out, but they're going from backyard to backyard. Something's got to be done.
Okay.
Mother Nature just wiped out half of my tomato plants, and I don't want the deer to come and ruin the rest when we get them planted again.
Right. And I know, I mean, obviously they're protected through DWR, and I know about 3 years ago they came in and assisted. Chief's got something to say.
So we've been, so Cody with DWR, the biologist,
Mm-hmm.
called us about 3 weeks ago,
Okay.
specifically about this group. He's had quite a few complaints.
Okay.
Obviously, we have shooting restrictions in town. They also, DWR also has restrictions on where they can and cannot shoot. They use a subsonic 22 that's, what do you call it, not muzzle brake silent,
Mm-hmm.
so you don't even hear them. But they have some restrictions too. He asked my thought about it. I told him, I said, that group is an absolute problem. They're not leaving town. They are staying in town all the time. So they have a management plan that they put into place and send it to their folks to get the approvals to be able to do the removal. I told him that when he got that I would get with you and Cleve,
Okay.
because you guys need to be able to authorize that removal.
Right.
And they won't do it from city property. So they'll come to you and ask for permission to be on your property when they do the removal, and there's several of them, several residents that will allow it, including his property. He lives right there too.
Mhm.
You betcha.
And so that particular group that she's talking about is currently being talked about.
Okay.
And it's gonna be a little bit, he told me about 6 weeks, and that was 3 or 4 weeks ago,
Okay.
before he gets his ticket. And then we have another group over here that's coming, but they're going back into the hills now. Earlier this year, they weren't. We were keeping track for him, 'cause they're doing some studies, and they're studying the inbreeding, like with this group.
Okay.
And so, we've now got them every morning almost, going out throughout your backyard and heading out back into the hills, but they're coming in sometime in the middle of the night.
Okay.
And they're causing a little bit of havoc on the high school stuff especially, so.
All right.
Chief, also, I did some calling also on, I talked to Cody, you talked to Cody Evans, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I talked to Cody Jones.
Yeah, so Cody Jones down at DWR.
Yes, correct, and I talked to Sean, but he was out, but anyway, Cody, he says that they've done a new law this year, just passed, that you have to have permission from each landowner.
Okay, so here's the difference between Cody Jones and Cody Evans. Cody Evans is a biologist, and they operate under administrative rules.
Okay,
Cody Jones was an enforcement officer, which operates under law enforcement rules. The reason his new law came into effect May 5th was a deal that happened in Kanab. That caused some issues, but Cody Evans is doing it the same way. He will have the landowner's permission to
Okay.
be on their property for the take, so they're not on city property.
because the only thing he brought up was, and he can see the problem, is this, some neighbors are feeding him, and some don't, have a nuisance.
So
So,
Mrs. Rowley, is having a huge issue with them.
yes.
And she hasn't called us. I'd come visit anytime. Give me a call. We'll come visit. But there's 2 other residents down there that are having very large issues with them. Like in the daytime, they're sleeping under their trees and stuff, right? But 2 people behind them is feeding them. So Cody Evans has went and met with them and said, please stop feeding them, because this is what happens when you do that. So he believes as of last week that they're probably not feeding them anymore.
So they're going to somebody's garden.
Now they're feeding gardens, which we got that call today.
Gardens are being...
We got a call today about a freshly planted garden, and they destroyed it.
So I know there's a bunch that I kind of watch it, but
Roses, the flowers.
Yeah, and for some reason, they like what's the not dandelions, I like those are good to eat, but, what's the
Tulips.
up in the spring?
Tulips.
No, daffodils.
Daffodils, yeah.
They destroy that.
Oh, they love the tulips.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Daylilies, they.
Yeah, so we're working on it. Cody's great. Cody Evans is great for us to work with.
yeah, that's who he suggested to talk
Yeah,
to.
so we'll help him, like when we get one killed, or one that needs to be killed that's being hit, we'll go kill it. And if we can get it, he lets us donate it. We have a donate sheet. And if it's too bad to donate, we'll take it out to the pit, and he goes out and does a study on it. He goes out and gets DNA, does a brain study, because they're trying to determine the herd. So we've had 2 of these ones hit in the last 3 weeks, and that's how they know there's so much inbreeding in this group, so it is a problem.
Okay.
But we just gotta, unfortunately for you, it's gonna take a little bit of time, because it has to be done the right way. We can't just go in and deal with them, but they are trying.
Well, you're welcome on our land anytime.
Well, he'll come,
and
he'll
visit.
have you sign for him, so. Cool?
Yeah. And I know that program, about 3 years, worked very well, so.
Okay,
So we'll stay on top of that. As soon as the chief lets us know, we'll get that ball rolling and get those signed off, okay?
thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Carol.
Is there any action that needs to be on that?
I don't think so, 'cause it's DWR that's gonna be dealing with it, so.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the only thing I'd ask maybe would be, if, when Cody Evans gets his paperwork, do you want me to track somebody down to get authorization, or can Cleve and I just authorize him to get it done, based on his?
Last time he had to get authorization from me, but that's not a problem, so.
So, he said, so just have him give you a call?
Yeah, just have him give me a call.
You?
Yeah. All right, thanks, chief.
Thank you.
All right, this time I'll turn agenda item number 6, Iron County Teens Against Drugs presentation. I'm sorry I don't have any names, so if you guys want to come up to the podium and introduce yourselves, I'd appreciate it.
Hi. Like you said, we're Iron County Teens Against Drugs. My name is Gracie Houghton. I'm the president.
Gracie.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, and I'm Allison Robertson. You can go. So we are youth-led. We have advisors who help with things that we can't take care of, or who do, as their name suggests, advise us. And we work to prevent substance abuse in Iron County. Next slide, please. Thank you. There's a quote on there: "Banning smoking in public places, including parks, is a recommended strategy to prevent tobacco use among youth." And so if you just put up signage, then people know, well, I'm not supposed to be doing this here, and so that helps people who are trying to quit to have more motivation to quit. And then when they aren't smoking in those public areas, then the youth that are there, and especially the children there with their parents, see this isn't normal, and they understand the risk much better, and it also helps to decrease secondhand smoke inhalation and quit rates. Next slide. Thank you. Like I just said, with the signs being up, you don't even have to enforce it. People just see the sign and assume that you will enforce it, and so it reduces youth tobacco use. Quit rates go way up. The youth see that the risk is very real and very dangerous. There's less exposure to secondhand smoke, and with no more of the cigarette butts and the hot vapes all over, the fire danger goes down, and especially with the extreme drought we're in, that is a big issue. Next slide, please. Thank you. And the public, smoking and non-smoking, seem to really support this. The people who don't want that see that it is a big issue, and they've already known that, so they support this wholeheartedly. And people who are the smokers realize they need to quit, they need to stop doing that around the people who don't want it, and so that helps them to quit and helps prevent the non-smokers from beginning. Next slide, please. Thank you. We would donate signage, and we would help with the installation if you would like that. And so at this time, I would like to open this up for questions.
So what do you want us to do?
We would like to know if you already have a policy, and if not, we would like to write your policy. If not, or if you do already have a policy, we would like to update that. We've been updating several policies lately, and then make sure that people are aware of that.
We do have a smoke-free park policy, but it could certainly be reviewed and updated. I would suggest you
Well,
look at
do we have signs up?
Not that I've seen.
I do too, I would agree. So, and you said that you would get the signs to us?
Yes, we would donate the signage.
Okay.
We'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that would be a great deal.
Thank you.
So do we need to move to, put the signs up?
Are you gonna come up, say what you need to say?
Chair up here, don't we?
What's that?
We just need to name a chair up here.
We do.
That's what I
Yes.
that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Do what?
So our current policy says smoking cigarettes.
So we need to change that to vaping too.
If that's what you guys would like to do. So it's ordinance, right?
it. It is an
So
order.
we need to do ordinance.
Right.
If they wanted to provide, so we'd love if you provide us a policy. So we have your wording, we can look at that, we can see how we're going to change it, but the signage idea is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so much data out there for parents, that if they will be direct with their kids about alcohol and tobacco, the likelihood and chance of them doing it is way down. And so if we do put that up, people are more apt to take issues with it.
Okay.
And the vaping is an issue. I mean,
Yeah.
Yes.
They vape a ton over there.
Oh, yeah.
You see I looked up the numbers, we've had one complaint since my time here, since 16, about smoking in the park. But that actually turned out that we were there for an assault, and the officer actually cited him for smoking in the park as well.
Okay.
So now we don't get a lot of complaints. I don't think we have a lot of problems with it, but it's good prevention for
Yeah.
safety, for sure.
Put it out there.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so if you could get a copy of your ordinance, and then we can work on adopting that and then get the signs up.
We have to wait to to revise that ordinance before we can install their signs?
I don't
think so.
Right now, it just basically says smoking or smoking, which means includes possession, carrying, or holding a lighted pipe, cigar, or cigarette of any kind, or other liquid smoking equipment, and the lighting or emitting or exhaling of smoke or pipe, cigar, or cigarettes of any kind, or of any other lighted smoking equipment.
So,
Smoking
when you read the electronic part, right?
Right.
So, I think that can be cleaned up to a point that it's very clear.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's electronic cigarette, and then there's vape.
Vapes.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Vape does not have any smoke attached to it, it's all steam and liquid. One officer might read that as an electronic cigarette, which they still sell, or a vape, and I might read it as a vape only. So I think just cleaning that up a little bit would be awesome.
Okay,
simple amendment.
yeah. All right, so we'll work on that then.
Thank you.
Okay, Gracie, thank you, really appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for that presentation.
That's the good work.
All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 7. I'll turn the time over to Jason Bradshaw, and this is for the pipeline through town.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. My name is Jason Bradshaw. A recent organization was developed and licensed called the Parowan Valley Pumpers Association. It came about because of the safe yield order given by the Division of Water Rights, that the Parowan Valley be issued and given the right to create a groundwater management plan. That groundwater management plan will identify a safe yield to the underground aquifer. One of the reasons given in law at this time to accomplish that is to begin to eliminate junior water right holders. Parowan City has approximately about an 800 acre foot junior right of the 2,000 and change that they own. What our association is looking to do is to help eliminate and kick that can down the road as long as possible. Part of our plan is to help alleviate any water that gets past all of the diversion points and ends up in the Little Salt Lake. And one of the things that we are looking to plan and do and seek funding for is a pipeline that would travel through town and eventually dump a lot of that high water into the Evans and what you and I know as sewer ponds. We have chosen to call them Parowan ponds to help eliminate the connotation. But the ditch that goes through town at this time is sometimes insufficient and sometimes freezes up in the spring at nights and floods over streets, and thus it has to be turned off, and then that water then is allowed to go through the flood channel and eventually end up in the Little Salt Lake. So what I'm here tonight to do is just to inform you of our potential plans, and if you have any suggestions or ideas to help us get a large pipeline through town, we would probably be looking to come right off of the channel and create a direct line through a couple blocks into the Kelly Evans Pond, which also is connected to the sewer ponds. With Parowan Company owning, what's that?
Parowan ponds.
Yes, thank you. The Parowan ponds. Old habits. So what I would be looking for you possibly is to help identify a street that is suitable for us to do that, and to see if you have any desires to help us possibly financially or into man hours to get this system in place. We are estimating either a 30 or a 36-inch pipeline. The length is approximately 6,000 feet. We would need to go through a lot of your town's utility systems depending on the side of the road that's chosen. Mr. Matheson has been part of our group and our discussions in this, and we appreciate his advice on this. You are a junior water right holder, and by law today, your 700 acre feet would be cut first, along with a few others. I'm not sure what you guys value an acre-foot of water at today, but I don't think it takes very long to get into high hundreds of thousands of dollars, possibly millions of dollars for this town if that plan is fully implemented. And so I'm here just by way of information. We will come back to you for, once we have a final design on where we want to install that pipeline, some of our plans and estimated costs. But I think it might be something for you to consider, and I'm a little remiss that I didn't get here before your budget hearing, which was, last month, I guess, or 2 weeks ago. But I think Parowan City needs to be actively involved in this case, with a voice and a concern financially and with manpower. So I'm open to any comments or questions that you have.
Jason,
Yes,
what
Council.
is the, date for that junior water,
55.
as you described?
We have not submitted an approved plan to the Division of Water Rights yet. State engineer has approached us, and she has given us a little bit of leeway. We are 2 years into her introduction of Parowan Valley coming up with a plan. They normally take 4 years, so I'm anticipating she will give us 2 more years to develop a plan. And based on neighboring groundwater management plans of Enterprise and Cedars is the most recently approved groundwater management plan. Their first cut is 15 years.
15.
The second cut is 15 years after that.
Mm-hmm.
So in potentially 32 years, the city of Parowan would potentially lose 1,800 acre-feet of water of the 2,000 and something that you own.
What is the date of the,
Acre-feet,
of the junior?
Not 1,800.
acre-feet.
How many acre feet?
I believe according to the Division of Water Rights, what will be, Parowan City is owner of just over 2,000 acre-feet,
And they would lose 800 or so.
1,800 over the 30 years. That would be 2 cuts. The first cut, you would lose about 800,
All Parowan City has left is 200 acre feet?
plus or minus a little bit there, for domestic use.
Jason, what is the date that defines a junior water right?
That date will be developed by the Parowan Valley Pumpers Association.
So the state engineer hasn't set that date?
They have not. They are looking for our input as a local entity.
Okay, 'cause I've heard different things,
If they-
Peter, and...
The law currently allows them to set a date at any time and any date.
What's the amount of water that's returned to the aquifer from the Parowan Creek?
Currently, right now, the Parowan Valley has appropriated to them 53,000 acre-feet of water.
And how much?
We are currently using 32,000. Safe yield is determined at approximately 22,000.
That's what I was gonna say. Safe
A
yield?
10,000 acre-foot reduction throughout the Parowan Valley, which is, Summit north to a few miles north of Highway 20.
So, my question, Jason, has been what date is that safe yield determined?
Oh, you have to go look at your water. So you can go to the...
Oh, I know, but I'm saying they know how many acre-feet of water.
Yep,
That it's
roughly
a
10,000.
safe yield, so what,
So
they gotta
that
have
date
that
is-
date, what that
So if I
safe yield.
take 10,000 acre-feet, and it'll be a rough number, Commissioner, or
Right.
Council Member,
Council,
thank you.
I'm not a commissioner, yeah.
32,000, they anticipate the Parowan Valley is currently using 32,400. So if I go to the 22,400 mark, $9/11/1952.
52, that's what, okay.
Any water that is junior, any 53, 54, 55, et cetera, up until the 1970s was the last water right,
Mm-hmm.
will be taken.
Mm-hmm.
Typical groundwater management plans run anywhere from 60 years, that's Cedars, up to 120 years, which is Enterprises. The Division of Water Rights has already alluded to the fact they will not be granting a 120-year groundwater management plan again. Enterprise was the first one in the state to be addressed, they were the guinea pig, and they were given leeway.
Yeah.
Numerous groundwater management plans have been developed since, and those usually range in the 60 to 80-year mark. So, on average, in 80 years from now, the Parowan Valley will be required to reduce 10,000 acre-feet of water. What we are trying to do, as a Parowan Valley Pumpers Association, is capture as much high water that is wasted, and I'm going to use the term wasted loosely, that water that is not recharged into the aquifer. We want to get it into the aquifer to possibly kick that can down the road a bit more. It will come at a cost. We're anticipating several $1 million to do these projects over the next, if you want to go 60 years or 80 years. And a lot of private landowners are impacted, and a lot of domestic homeowners are impacted, and Parowan City is impacted.
Hey, Jason, where did the 15-year cut number come from? Is that set by the state, set by precedents? Why couldn't it be a 25-year first cut?
The 15-year, the groundwater management plan has not been submitted or approved by the Division of Water Rights. They are giving us an option to do that. And if we submit a 25-year first cut, they may accept it. They may turn around and say, no, that's too long, 10-year. Our current plan right now is at 15 years, using neighboring groundwater management plans as a number. So the date is not set. The groundwater management plan is not approved.
I'm just wondering why we wouldn't just go to the 25-year or 30-year mark first off.
We just need your input at our Parowan Valley Pumpers Associated meetings, and we'll submit that, and the Division of Water Rights will change or correct that as they wish.
My recommendation is you get someone on the city council to serve on that board.
The board's been created. We're welcome for advisory committees.
I would get your foot in the door, because your government, with the government, will give you more leeway than private citizens with government. So I would suggest you get on the board. I thought we were going to lose 200 acre-feet to 400 acre-feet was what I thought. But you're going to lose 90% of your water. You better get on the board.
Right.
We join you in trying to avoid this problem to happen. But to do that, we have got to have projects that'll go through your town.
Has there been any recommendation to pump less?
Yes, we have lots of recommendations to improve to the highest efficiency use of water possible. You can always go to Zeroscape in town. Mm-hmm. You can go to increasing the supply of water in the watersheds through forest plans, juniper control, upland rangeland trend condition changes, and then maximizing the recharge water.
Mm-hmm. Do the wells in the valley, do any of them get metered?
Yes, that's how they have come up with the data.
And is that how they establish the acre feet that you can use every year?
They've developed some models that they capture the boundary of potential water that flows into this valley, and then based on our snow yields and precip yields, they can determine the inflow.
So if they are metering those wells, then the water allocated must have been allocated way out of range for a lot of years.
We've made that point to them as well.
So,
and they accept that.
Yeah.
However,
so to me,
they have no financial backing to fix that.
Yeah,
at this time.
and if they keep giving water rights when the aquifer just keeps sinking from 90 feet to, what is it now, 200 and something feet to,
yep.
It tells me that we're over pumping, but that tells me that the state evidently doesn't study things very well.
The last water right issued was in 1974.
Yeah.
And so we are almost 50 years since they have issued a water right. Yeah. There was a large chunk of water issued in the mid-50s, mm-hmm. and at that time the aquifer was not declining, right? Mm-hmm. So they, in their I'm not defending them, but in their own mind, the water table was fairly stable.
Yeah.
And then those 50s hit, and full production agriculture begins to take place, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and now the water table is, from the 80s to today, you're 40 years of data.
Jason, one question on this project. Is it going to affect the Meeks Pond flow?
I have no idea.
We'll have to address that.
Yes, since is that the little fish pond you have? We understand there's lots of partners involved in that.
Yeah.
Our intention is not to take away from nice places and recreation areas.
Well, there is appropriate water rights to that pond. The city has it.
The city has a surface water right to that.
That comes out of the surface, not the...
Oh.
Well, we're trying to capture surface water to see it.
But when it takes the surface water to divert
That's
it...
the excess surface water.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we need to make sure that excess isn't affecting the amount that the city has.
That's
goes
correct.
to that pond.
That's correct. We are only taking the high water. If that pond has a designated flow,
Right.
we will have to ensure that it gets it through a valve.
Yeah, okay.
That's correct. It might not be through town and all the
It's only a
backyard
percentage of what's coming down the ditches.
I mean, it goes from the Meeks down to where you're going anyway.
Goes into the
Yeah,
pond.
but we want to keep the pond in viable
We
condition.
can't cut that off.
We don't want to dry it up.
Okay.
It'd be
We
best,
have no intention to do that.
yeah, it'd be best if we can figure out a location. Is the point of diversion gonna be at the, gravel trap? Or is it gonna be, where the floodwater starts down the channel on 100 West or 200 West?
Yeah, we are still working on that ourselves, council.
Yeah, 'cause a direct shot not through town would be probably less footage and less utilities.
Well, yes. We also want to give weight to your ability to generate power.
Yeah.
And so our water right, our applied for water right is behind everyone else's right. If you can understand that with me. All surface rights have to be met, city, individual ditches, and then our water right kicks in of anything that is not diverted. So we have to be mindful of all of those items, and that's why we like your participation on that committee to help us understand that and how much water the Meeks Pond, is that, sorry, I can't remember the name, is.
It's not very much, but there is some.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately today there's none, right?
It's enough that the salmon spawn from Evans's Pond to the Yankee from there, right through it.
Right through, right up. And I have oceanfront property just north of town.
And a dock already installed.
Yeah, my dock is still in water. That's right. So that's just a way of heads up. I think we will be back a little bit later once we have some ideas. If you want to discuss and give us your opinion on where we should divert water out of the stream in the city of Parowan, what streets we should look at going down through, how the residents may feel. I don't know how many are sensitive to that stream running through their backyard that we could potentially dry up, except through to the Meeks Pond. Those are all things that will have to be siphoned out, but.
Are they still considering, in the main canyon area, diversion, sinking ponds off the main channel there?
Yeah, we can consider our diversion point wherever we feel is beneficial. Is there any diversion points below that are senior to our water right?
Well, I mean, just to run the high water, if it's running dirty, nobody wants it. That's the problem. If we could send it over on that BLM property, it's really, I talked a little bit with Harold on
about that,
and walked down that, and he's like, there's some potential.
Yeah,
We're just talking fun. I'm pretty sure the BLM would probably participate.
Give us permission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there could be a combined effort there, Clay.
Oh, yeah, there would be, so, but that would be the property that is involved that, he and I were speaking of.
Mm-hmm. So we meet several times a year, and we're getting ready for a grant application through the Water Optimization Program through the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food. We're trying to seek a $250,000 grant, plus or minus, and this is one of our first priorities, is to get that high water into ponds that'll recharge the water instead of to the Little Salt Lake. So this is an introduction to our purpose, and we'll appreciate your advice. And
Well, I'm sure you're aware of it, Jason, but the USGS says that the higher that you can store that to recharge, the better, that the sewer lagoon or Parowan ponds is actually low. If you can get it stored up above, you do better.
yes, we agree with that. When we start to look at the economics, that pond is dug for us. And so it may be a little less efficient on recharge, but it could be up to $400,000 or $500,000 of financial benefit ahead. Secondly, the recharge ponds, to my knowledge, have never filled to full capacity, and so we know there is a percolation rate there that it's
Well, didn't we have that guy come and test them, Cleve?
fairly successful.
Didn't we have that engineer come and drill some holes in the...
Oh, we do have the
Perk test?
the perk test, and that was what
It's triggered your
on
new
the
sewer.
move.
So we figured that the same, that's why you had to move
I believe that was in operation over 30 years, and it was a 6-pond site, and only 2 ponds ever held sewage.
Yes.
That's what got the state's
The attention.
attention and caused,
Yes.
that was the reason for the move.
So we feel those ponds have a high percolation, and Evans's pond, as you all know, driving through there, does as well. We've actually went and cleaned that out. You've probably seen that. I believe it was the county that helped us with that.
The county
Dave?
did, yes.
Pushed all those trees out to help that sink a little better. So I potentially see us coming back requesting funds and manpower, just as a heads up. Any other questions?
Is Yankee Meadows full?
Yankee Meadow is not full, and it will not fill this year. The snowpack is gone. It was actually gone before the end of March.
How far is it from the top? From the hill?
It was 9 feet 2 months ago, and I think it's at least 8 or 9 feet still.
From the spillway?
Yeah, I was up there 2 weekends ago, and it's at least, I mean, I didn't go look at the numbers, but it's gotta be 8 or 9 feet still.
Yeah, it will not fill this year.
And they haven't turned it out yet, so it's probably more than that now.
They did get it turned out, yep.
Just wanna,
That's why we're 2 days a week.
It's probably gone down since
Oh,
they
yeah.
turned it out.
Mhm.
What's the hours of watering, by the way?
The hours.
yeah.
Odds.
I just wonder why the school had their water.
Because they're running
Culinary.
Yeah.
They got out. Well, yeah,
That's true.
but
Yeah.
they dropped the
I was
PI.
just gonna bring it up because I saw them watering out front. I thought,
No, they dropped the
Somebody else
PI
talked to
and
them
went to
that's right,
culinary
they're on
because they
PI
didn't like the
or-
restriction.
Mm-hmm.
they are.
Yeah, some, but the football field, baseball field, the front lawns,
That's all culinary. Okay.
If you as a council wish to give us some recommendations on a cut date, how many years out, I think as an elected body of a city, that will weigh heavy on the division of water.
Well, I think
Consideration.
from our perspective, we need to look very seriously at some storage that we could do in cooperation, because we need to store that runs in excess from that forebay. And so we need to look at some, maybe a cooperative effort here or something, because we need to look at a secondary pond.
As a storage, right? To your high water,
No, it's that we've got to store what they have water right for that's spilling over, and we're not able to, that's why we're on 2 days, because they turned it in and it fills up, runs over, so there's no need of us, wasting that, so to speak, so we need some storage, is the bottom line.
Yep.
So that's just something we need to think
It
of.
would be nice for the runoff water if the storage could be incorporated with the settling,
Yeah.
so you can get the crap out of the water before we put it in the pipe.
Right.
And then let it go down to the ponds and leach into the aquifer.
Yeah.
But that would be the best thing to do if we can cooperate and engineer a pond that would act as a settling pond and holding pond both. It'd kill two birds with one stone.
Is that on property owned by Parowan City?
I think we own the whole gravel trap, don't we?
There's we own some significant
Yeah.
Property right there?
Mm-hmm.
It would have to be, it'd be very strategic in
Yeah.
where it would have to be.
Thank you. I'll be back for something greater than I am needing today.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Jason. It's an acronym, you don't have to take action.
Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 8, the approval of the fee schedule for fiscal year 2021 and 22. This is a resolution 2021-05-01. So since it's a resolution, we'll do a roll call. Patty?
You need a motion and...
Oh, sorry, yeah.
I make a motion that we approve the approval of fee schedule for fiscal year 2021-22, resolution number 2021-05-01.
I second.
Okay, Patty?
Ask for...
Oh, what's that?
Need some discussion.
Oh, sorry. Do we have any discussion on that?
Okay, on, is that what you're bringing up?
That was, yep.
Okay.
I clarified with Callie that, she got those numbers corrected today, for the ball fields.
Okay, yeah, so the ball field has not changed on the draft that we got now.
The draft you got, yes, it
Yeah.
has
Yeah,
not
in
been...
the minutes, she's got it down as, what did I say, 100 per field and 300 per
For the
complex.
complex, yes.
Yeah,
Yes, what we voted on last time.
Right.
Yeah, so that has been corrected, and in the actual,
It's line number 161.
That was my
Little bit
concern
down,
also
Kelly.
in there, so. Okay.
yeah, yeah, per field.
Yeah, you had, in the minutes, we had $100 per field or 300 per complex.
Correct.
Right.
Still cheap.
Just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Per complex, is there more than one?
There's three, well, fields is what, no, well, sorry, not complex, yeah, for the whole complex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause you say per, there's,
No, sorry,
yeah.
my,
No, I'm just reading as he was typing it, so.
for the
Oh,
complex.
okay, so that's a continuation.
Yeah.
I read my own, I guess.
For the complex.
Did you see, was there any others? I didn't see any other...
No, that was my concern also.
Yes, yes, there were some additions at the fire hydrant meter. We had never stated what our deposit was, so we added the deposit, the $1,250 deposit when you rent a fire hydrant meter. And that it would be, after 3 days, it would be deposited. Is that right? I think it's on the very last page, Callie, at the very end of the whole list.
Hydrant meter.
Hydrant meters,
Mm-hmm.
where are we?
So at that point where the hydrant meters, we would add the deposit that we've always asked for would be put on there in that place.
Now, is that refundable?
Yes,
Okay.
that depends. Them come back very broke up, sometimes they don't.
Plus they cost about
Oh.
$200, don't they, for the meter?
And then what do they do? Pay the rate for the
And there's
use?
a rate that they pay based on the usage.
Okay.
$1,250, and it will be deposited after 3 days.
What do those things cost?
Right now, they're quite expensive. Before, we could replace them for $900. At the time that this was developed, they were about $1,500 with all the components, the separate valve. The meter itself is about $900, but then we have the hand wheel valve, so once it's turned on, you can shut it off without having to operate the hydrant each time.
Right.
Once you put it all together, it's at
So
least
with all those
12, 14.
components,
Yeah.
we can replace it for that cost.
That's what we need. Perfect.
Okay, so that would be the only
Okay,
changes on the review.
all right. Anything else? All right, Patty?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Dave?
I have a question. What
Okay.
about I shouldn't even say this, but on there's some pool fees. What are we gonna do? We just leave those?
They'll just be inactive for right now.
They'll be adjusted when the pool's...
Then we adjust them when we,
Okay,
I'd say,
okay.
yeah.
So what would you call that right now, inactive, but,
So the fees are what we've got now, but they'll...
They're temporarily on hold, suspended.
Suspended.
Suspended, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aye.
Those have
Okay,
zeros.
Jim?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right, we'll move on to work meeting, agenda item number 9, the RAP tax information.
This information, both Judy and Callie sat through a very long and informative, is that a good word? Is that a politically correct word? Meeting, and if you consider a RAP tax, there's some boxes that have to be checked, so they gleaned all this information, wanted to give it to you. It's substantial to get the voter information out and whatnot, and if you'd like to do it, I'd like you to please review the stuff that was added with the packet. And it can get pretty involved for the clerk.
Question on that is, I couldn't find it, but what is it earmarked for? What can we use it for?
Recreation, arts, and park. Cultural. So,
But is it for new or existing or?
I don't think it's as long as it's expended in those areas.
It's gotta be
I'll give you some ideas. Each city gets it, they apply for grants from it. So we don't have, so they apply for the Peterson grant through their RAP tax.
Right.
Maria.
And they've used it on their big soccer complex when they were building it, so new. But they've also put in new park equipment and stuff on some of the older parks, because we told them that their stuff was old and they had to remove, they used it for that. They've also used it to put beautification in one of the parks, so curbing and things like, in a little mini golf course.
So it's not used, where I'm kinda getting is for reoccurring. It has to be allocated for that one, and then we can apply it for something else.
You could say, well, no, because you would be having it on your taxes here, so your money's gonna come in. You have to have a RAP tax board that distributes it to you guys approve it, right? But it wouldn't be, you wouldn't be able to take that money and put it in the Parks and Rec for mowing. You'd have to.
Yeah, that's what I'm kinda getting. It has to be specifically earmarked for something, or...
It's collected through the
For,
sales
like,
tax.
improvement.
Improvements, yes, and stuff
Yes.
like that. Okay, that's,
It'll come through the county,
Yeah.
right? 'Cause
Yes.
yeah, they're collecting, yeah, uh-huh.
Well, we have to get their permission in order to
Even do it.
even do it.
Yeah, no, not, he's saying that to enact it, we have to get the county permission. And they have a 60-day window, and we're like into that 60-day window because we have to put it on a ballot in August, is that right, Kelly? Yeah, by August 19th. To be able to put on a ballot, but we have to get the permission from the county
Before we can even put it on the ballot.
to do that, and they have a 60-day window where they can reply to us that yes, okay.
So you should really think about doing a good, information year for residents, because when they hear tax, they're not gonna understand what that is.
Well, in looking at those pamphlets from Moab and
Yeah.
that was really something I think we ought to send out. It was interesting, neither one of those, there was nobody
No,
opposed.
that's the same thing.
Nobody wrote an opposition to it.
Well, that's it, that's why I wanna get information out, is a RAB tax is good, because we're not freely to use it to mow lawns or whatever, not, you know.
Well, and what did they say, 70% is from residents, not from... Non-residents. Non-residents is what I'm trying to say.
Exactly.
We gouge the tourists and stuff. No, I mean...
Careful.
Pay the
Yeah.
court. No, I'm sorry.
Your wife's gonna smack you.
No, but the whole idea, it's like the room tax, you know, that to fund cultural and recreational activities, this earmarks a percentage of the sales tax to those particular projects. Adds a 1%.
But then it would free up money that we are already giving to those.
Well, yeah.
Theater or whatever not, that we could use for,
The Old Rock Church,
That's the key on your communication, because when they hear tax, they will believe that they are being taxed.
Tax.
It's not, it's transient tax.
Right.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying, we need to utilize the information contained in those pamphlets that's already out there. Can't we just...
Plus you'll have to get a wrapper that everybody likes, you know.
I like the wrappers that come on Three Musketeers.
I got some M&M in my truck later. Not the candy, the wrapper.
Just the wrapper?
But, so, the 60 days, we're about halfway through, say, Judy?
Well, you would have, what did you say, Si, by the next council meeting at the latest, you'd have to have a letter. A resolution or something to send to the county to get.
A resolution to get to the county.
County, so they can approve it.
Pool, can we do the pool?
They intend to enact a rat tax.
Right, countywide.
county-wise, yeah.
I don't think they would be taking that away from Cedar.
Yeah, exactly. I think we ought to pursue it.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Of course.
Well, they already have one in Cedar, don't they?
Yeah, Cedar's got one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so,
I would
does
say,
anywhere else in the county have one? Is it unique?
I think Bryan Head has one, don't they?
Yes.
Probably, I'm sure they do.
Yeah,
Not a lot, you have to remember, like on a
Yeah.
$200 purchase, it's 20 cents.
Yeah,
1% of, yeah,
mhm.
0.1%,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should move forward and to draft a letter up to the county to ask to approve the
We'll
wrap.
get something prepared
When she gets
Or you
her,
can-
yeah.
for your next meeting.
And then we'd have
Get
to
it submitted.
accept it, okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt, I mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, a question on that, though, does it have to be used up in that fiscal year, or is it a recurring?
I don't think so. I think that could be said, you could say, we're gonna build a fund in a capital project. It's earmarked for
Couple of
lights
years.
at the ball field.
Yeah.
Bang.
Or that could be used
Yeah,
towards the
so,
pool.
but it
For the
could be
pool.
used, it could collect in a,
I notice you're being very careful not to say the four-letter word.
Pool? Pool.
I just said it.
Oh, no, I mean, honestly,
You wouldn't earn enough between that.
I don't.
No, but we could do something to
Yeah.
enhance it or
Yeah,
something
right.
more.
Sure.
Yeah, but you've got the Old Rock Church, you got the Jesse Smith, you got the theater, you've got the Heritage the Park. You got Meeks'
Pond, yeah, we've
You
got so
got
much.
the trailhead at the Valentine's Peak. There's a million things that wrap tax can be used for.
Right,
There'll be no lack of
right,
uses.
exactly.
Yeah, but it also enhances our appearance that would entice more people to come
Yes.
and spend money.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can use it for billboards and all that stuff,
Yep.
so.
Okay,
Okay,
get
so
something
let's-
prepared for you.
Let's get that ready for next.
It'll be on the
meeting.
agenda for an action.
Okay,
Okay. Great.
all right, we'll move on to reports.
That was
Patty?
me, yes. The only thing we worked on, and it was today, was, the pool committee had a meeting, and we met with, two gentlemen from Dominion, some really good information, clarification of some of the things that we were struggling with, and Dave's gonna give you a little bit of a report.
Okay. All right, anything else?
No?
Okay, Jim, do you have anything?
No, but hopefully everybody got that update from, UAMPS. Showed quite a few more, couple of more big, conglomerates that are probably gonna buy a piece of power
Yeah.
along with us, and then quite a few updates nationally and internationally on the benefits of nuclear, and that's the way we need to go. Anyway, that was interesting, but that was, we haven't had a power board meeting, so.
Okay. Well, I think we made the right decision to stay in that, so.
Yeah.
Well, there was, I wish I would've printed it off, I'll have to go find it again, but there was a big article in a magazine, and it actually kinda said how, much I've been kinda following how, that nuclear plant and stuff.
Yeah.
It's, I think it's catching an eye, because
It's getting to be a big deal.
especially since all the power outages this
Yeah.
winter and stuff like that, so.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Matt, do you have anything?
I don't.
Okay. David, do you have anything?
Yeah, let's see, planning and zoning met, and they're continuing to work on the, general plan. They're doing it section by section, chapter by chapter. They're moving forward, and I think they'll meet their deadline by getting that, done by, I think, the end of, well, I say maybe in August. We'll see how that goes.
Okay.
And Councilman Shirtliff and I have an assignment to review the heritage part of that general plan, so we'll have to get together. Okay.
Let's go to the mountain.
Okay, we'll have some Dutch oven mutton, all right. Huh? Okay, one thing one thing I forgot was, last time I should have reported on the Heritage Park had their clean up on the 11th of May. And, of course, Kristen Robinson headed it up, and Don Louder, and Michelle Orton was there. But we had several high school classes that came up, and for their class period, then they'd go back, but all during the day. There was several classes that came up and did a lot of work, so they need to be commended. But those three, Kristen Robinson, of course, and Don Louder and Michelle Orton, the only bad thing, I spent the day with them, but I was embarrassed because trying to keep up with an 88-year-old man, Don Louder, I kind of didn't do my job there. He was using a grubbing hoe on that brush, and I finally says, the heck with this, and I went and got my chainsaw. So that just shows the difference. But anyway, they did a good job, and it was a good, effort from the school to participate and be involved, and all the kids to show some interest and, some ownership there. And then I just wanted to say, I drove around, and I want to commend the staff, whatever, the parks guys, for how the parks look. They look better now with this drought and things than I think they have for quite some time. And they look good. I mean, that Lions Park, I was surprised, it's green.
Mm-hmm.
It looks good, and they need to be commended. They've done a good job. And I'm sure Jim will talk about, I looked at the cemetery, and it looks like it's in good shape for Memorial Day. And so it really looks good. Now, the Shade Tree Committee, well, I've been asked, I don't know if it's exactly the committee, but they're going to dedicate a plaque to Frank and Arlene Adams Saturday. And so I've been asked to go and participate in that. So, just for your information.
Is that
that's by the library. I guess Frank and Arlene donated that pine tree that you decorate for Christmas, put the lights on, years ago. And so they're putting a plaque there and dedicating it.
What time is that?
Okay.
It's 4 o'clock.
Their yard.
What time?
Is that where it comes from? 4 o'clock Saturday. 4 o'clock Saturday. This Saturday, day after tomorrow.
Library, right?
Yeah, library, there at that pine tree there on Main Street. Okay. I think I'll let Jim talk about that Save the Old Rock Church. We met with that committee. And, Patty mentioned the pool committee. There was some good information gleaned there from Dominion. And I think things that are really, some ideas that are really beneficial that we were looking at kind of what everybody's done, but they had some new innovative you know, and some incentives and different things. So I think it was very productive. It was productive. So I guess that I'll let Jim take care of the Old Rock Church, so.
Be
Other
ready
than-
to jump in, David.
Okay.
We did have a meeting with, Save the Old Rock Church. Turned out kinda interesting. There's some real questions from the DUP, as to what the intention of the city is, as far as going after these grants from the state historical office. Is it they wanna know, is the city's intention to move them out, or is it to keep it as a DUP museum?
But part of the problem's gonna be if that funding qualifies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the whole problem, is the funding, 'cause that rock church needs to be completely renovated. Now, if we get the state money, does the state say it has to be returned to its original condition? Or And use.
Yeah.
Or can it be refurbished, reconstructed, restored, and still allow the DUP to have their
What's their thinking of
museum?
not being able to fund the money if the DP?
That's what the state has to determine, because the state will not fund a private organization.
Right.
They won't, okay. So that's why, where their earmark is say, okay.
So if they give us money to restore the Old Rock Church to its original,
State or whatever.
state, can we then let the DUP back in with their museum? We don't know yet. We haven't got the word on what.
Okay,
And the DUP is very concerned because they
don't have any money.
They don't have any place to
Yeah, where
go.
else do you put 'em?
And
That's it.
David and I both agree that it's a two-pronged attack. We have to save and repair the Old Rock Church, but at the same time, we have to save the artifacts that are contained in the Old Rock Church.
I agree. Some way the artifacts are worth more than the building.
You know, that's our heritage, and but the DUP is very, very concerned, because number one, they don't have the funds or the wherewithal to come up with what needs to be done.
Right.
So our only hope is donations and grants and that stuff, and it's the conditions of those grants that we're struggling with right now, because I don't think I can't speak for the city. We need to decide what the Old Rock Church is gonna be as a city council.
Yeah, if it's gonna be a venue, or if it's gonna be a museum, and most of that's gonna be determined by the funding restrictions.
What options do we have? What would it be building if we got it fixed up the building? What could we use it for?
Yeah.
Well, if we get the state money, they wanna see it restored to its original use.
Okay, as a church or?
Yes. Now, you can have,
Weddings or stuff like that.
stuff like that.
Well, the original use is what they used it for, which was a central meeting place where you had dances, you had cultural events, you had school there,
It was a travel agency originally. That's where everybody got their traveling orders to settle the whole west.
Some of them probably want to burn it down.
But see, we don't know whether the state will allow us to access the grants and then turn it, say, to the DUP, come back.
They're a nonprofit though, so.
Yeah, that's what I was kinda getting.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that we're talking.
I know what you're saying, so.
I went in and Cleve got me a copy of the lease agreements. the agreement right now is on a year-to-year basis. And it can be terminated, given, either party given 90 days' notice. And that's something the DEP did not, I don't think they realized. But, so we have to decide and tell the DEP what direction the city intends.
I think the intent of the city would to keep them there and keep that, you know, the museum part of it, part of the overall church.
Depending on what the state says about it.
We want to set, yeah, we just want,
the state, or is there somebody that we can, it's in the process?
we want to do whatever it takes to save the building.
And DUP.
And if, yeah, and if they come back and say we can't do that, yeah, then we're gonna have to figure out a way to do it
Ken
privately.
Emerson with is doing a lot, it's a 501 going through the Heritage Foundation. They've talked to State Bank. They've got all of the things in place to do the brick pavers, which would generate significant funds, I think. I think there's enough people around that would like to see a name on a brick around the Old Rock Church. So I think there's some funding opportunities outside of the state, but of course, that's where the bulk is gonna come, is from our grant applications.
Well, I think it should be noted that, efforts will be made, if it cannot be used as a museum, that there'll be fundraising and efforts on the part of this organization to secure either building a building or a place to put those artifacts, so those artifacts are preserved and taken care of. So, you know, I guess you just have to see how things fall, but they will secure a place one way or another to put those artifacts.
Plus, that needs to be part of the plan. We're gonna have to store them while we do the work.
Well, see, and that's the other problem that we face. 'Cause you can't put them in a Connex box and put them...
No.
Really?
Well, the
City won't allow it.
Nope.
No, I mean, the stuff is...
No, it
Don't
has
get
to
me
be,
started, David.
has to be in a condition somewhere,
But
condition built.
I couldn't resist. I know you couldn't. I know. I'm such an easy target.
Yeah, we both are.
But that's another huge expense, because there's no way that any contractor on the face of the earth is gonna do the repair work for the Old Rock Church with those artifacts inside.
They even talked about moving them into the basement, but they're not gonna touch it even wherever they are in that.
That has to, we have to find a place to secure the artifacts if we can ever get somebody to come in and bid on repairing.
And that's gonna be hard in itself.
Yeah. So anyway, we're all working, but we're still lots of...
Setbacks.
Can you get all that ironed out by tomorrow, you think, or? wait till
After
Monday?
Our assignment done up the canyon.
Yeah, no kidding. And back to Dave's comment, the cemetery looks really good.
Oh,
it does. The guys have done a good job.
Can I tell you a little story about your cemetery today? My son called me. Hey. It's just, I'll get a cop, boy. Sorry. So my son's mowing lawns for Parowan, right? So he calls me today and he says, Dad, I need you to go up to the cemetery and check it for me. So you need to check it. It's gotta be perfect for Saturday. I said, well, call your boss, tell your boss to go check it. That's what your boss is for, I'm not your boss. He already did, he said nothing was wrong, but I think there's something wrong up there. So I spent 20 minutes and I found one grave that they didn't get trimmed very well. And so I called him and said, you guys are terrible. You did not get it done right. And he went right up and trimmed it, so. He's pretty proud of you guys' cemetery.
You should have called me. I would have given you some sheep shears, those hand ones, to send up there and have them do it.
No, but it looks...
Very proud of your cemetery.
They've done a good job, and it looks good.
Good.
And I'm looking forward to Monday.
Yeah.
It'll be nice to get back up there.
What is the program for Monday?
All I know is 10 o'clock. Talk to the commander.
Commander? 10 o'clock. Be there.
Introduction,
Former
the
police chief and
speaker.
current sheriff Ken Carpenter will be the speaker.
Oh, good, from last year? Good.
Okay.
And the veterans will be there to shoot and toot.
Yep. My favorite part.
All right, good. Anything else then, Jim?
Live ammo.
I'm sure there's something that I forgot. Dave's laughing.
Oh, that's
All right, Justin, do you have anything?
Not in open session.
Okay. All right, Cleve, do you have anything?
I do. Please pass those down, Callie. Appreciate that. This will be short.
Review.
Met with our representative from the trust, Curtis. If you'll turn to the third page, looks like that one. This is our renewal for our property insurance, auto, liability. Bottom line, that $76,000 number, that's the full number. It's actually down $200. So, it's good news. We went up in the, we had a small increase in the liability premium, and that's based on your operating costs. We went down in the vehicles, that's surplus vehicles going away, they don't need to be sitting there. And so, it's good news. And it's good for the budget was planned for, will be covered. I just wanted you to see that. I met with him today, after your packets had come out, so just wanted you guys to have this information.
That's good.
And, if you have any questions, these guys will answer them. Curtis, he's a great guy. I suggest, ever have any insurance questions, please call him.
All right. Okay, thanks, Cleve.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Cleve.
All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 11.
I make a motion that we move into closed session to discuss the character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual.
I'll second it.
Okay. Patty?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Matt? Aye. David? Aye. Jim?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're now in closed session. Thanks, everybody, for coming out.
Thank you.
Molly, thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.